Hi, I will be reading to you from this book, a chapter I wrote called The Whisper, and it's Muslim Americans' take on September 11th. I walked through the hallway of my Chicago high school, hugging the textbooks the way I would my naked breasts. My baby hair lost its exotic flair. No one stared. No boy wanted to know where the smell of strawberries came from in my presence. No jokes, no bullying in sight. Zombies took over Roosevelt High. They walked in a single file line. The lace of my tight shirt got stuck between the pages on my way to history class, and I released the fabric, placing what felt like rocks onto my desk. As if telepathic, Nessa asked me if I'd heard. "What is it?" I asked. "We were attacked. It's all over the news. Airplanes flew into buildings." My heart was an angry drummer. Who would do such a thing? A sense of patriotism overcame me, especially when I overheard someone using the term orchestrated. The bell rang, and it was the first time since moving to this country that I'd seen so many attentive faces in an American classroom. The elephant in the room was released, but instead of stomping out and wreaking havoc, it sat there rusting like an abandoned steam engine. Our teacher should have been dodging spitballs by this time, but she instead evaded as many questions as she could, unsure what to say. We were released home early. The rest of the day was spent by the TV, like teens by the toilet after an unsupervised party. Every American, including the new ones like myself, were flipping through news channels, no longer caring about our political ideology. Everyone became a Republican overnight. The patriotic John McCain type. Soon the names of the vermin would be released, and I would know my enemy, the people who hated America. My family and I were in disbelief when the names sounded a lot like those of my cousins, uncles, and friends. There was confusion, instant denial. It couldn't be. How could it be? Or could it? Within a few months after we had learned more, some of our friends and neighbors called each other. Without knowing it by its proper name, they referred to a false flag operation. Conspiracy theories could be found on the internet. Soon there was distancing. Some people did something, they said. It was a natural instinct, but over time the majority of the country began to fill their hearts with a dark liquid. The truth is that some people did something was the right description, because to moderate Muslims, those people, the terrorists, weren't Muslim, and Islam was not their faith. The same way that when a white Christian supremacist kills people he considers to be different is not really part of a mainstream Western Christian culture, then for them as well, some people did something. All news outlets, most movies, most articles, not just the conservative ones, reported on Islam and its dark, violent nature. Muslims were people to be suspicious of, like the Japanese after Pearl Harbor. I waited helplessly for the internment camps. At first I tried to argue. I made statements to my friends like, "Suicide is forbidden in Islam," or I recited an Islamic verse. "Whoever kills an innocent, it is as if he has killed all mankind." But nobody listened. It's as if my voice was instantly invalidated by mistrust. I was no longer an American, though I was more American than anything else. Those who were born in this country started saying something like, "Where are all the moderate Muslims? How come they aren't saying anything?" The truth is that at first we were numb. Along with everyone else, we suffered from the shock and horror of what we'd seen. Then when we found our voice and shouted, nobody heard us, and over time our shouts were muddled by fear of what was to come. When I heard of a Muslim ban and the possibility of a registry, I remembered white armbands once used in the Holocaust and in Bosnia to mark the other. Bosnian Christian Serbs took from the playbook of the German Christian Nazis to wage a propaganda campaign to dehumanize Bosnian Muslims. They had the audacity to refer to even barely practicing Muslims as terrorists. Patriotism led to nationalism, and nationalism to concentration camps, and finally to ethnic cleansing and genocide. The word genocide is a convenient one-word descriptor that masks the insurmountable horror that these people faced. so vile that if those who fearmonger and incite it knew it intimately, their cheeks would remain forever red, blending in with hell itself. After the attack on the United States, we didn't want to identify ourselves because genocide, slavery, and internment camps were part of this country's history, no matter how suppressed in America's consciousness. It's something that the minorities are too scared to say to the majority, the keepers of a monopoly on righteousness itself. That veracity is easily halted with the word unpatriotic. Having fled from nationalism in Bosnia, I knew that once it started here, the only thing that would slow it was the gushing heat of the color red. I stayed quiet, crying for the victims in silence, not being allowed to grieve with everyone else. Words from Islamic texts, words I had not heard before except at the end of prayer, acquired menacing meaning and power. Allahu Akbar, a phrase equivalent to God is great, was turned into a type of terror phrase by the populace, a phrase used right before an attack on Westerners. When someone is seeking an enemy, context is forgotten. Jihad, a word I had never heard before, was now at the forefront of my faith. All of a sudden, this concept that 99% of the Bosnian Muslims around me were not even taught became the central theme of our religion. "This is who you are," everyone shouted as if they had any clue. Most people, including many Muslims, didn't know who we were. Just like other humans, we were just trying to find ourselves. The assumption that all Muslims are religious and cohesive in their thinking took over like a fire-breathing dragon in a tornado. Suddenly, it didn't matter that you were not really practicing, that you were marrying people of different faiths, that Shiites and Sunnis slaughtered each other, that Turks and Kurds, both predominantly Sunni Muslims, were at odds, that Sufi Muslims were slaughtered or vilified by Wahhabis. The war between Iran and Iraq had been disregarded. So were differences in culture, religion, and language. It was all so simple. Somehow we became a wicked idea, an evil single ideology. We became the people who were celebrating in the streets as innocent people were attacked on September 11, 2001, shouting death to America while trampling the US flag. Radical Islamic terrorists who went astray. A minuscule portion of Muslims were projected to be the majority of Islam, and for some, the entirety. White America was out for blood, and they wanted to hire their ideological hitman. Bullets dipped in pig's blood were to be used because terror babies were to be born and prayer carpets left at the border during an invasion. And just like the first time around in the Holocaust, they wanted a man with a German connection and an American idea to make it all better. This imperfect hero of the white Christians would restore supremacy to the West by conducting Christianity's own version of jihad. He would wage a crusade against Islam, restore Jerusalem into the hands of its rightful heirs, ignoring international laws. The souls in the mass graves are growing tired of wailing. Never again, they whisper. Radical Christian terror or Western terror was to become great again. Thank you.